I'm Eddie Cannell.
And I'm Tom Cannell.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Mortgage Brothers podcast show, and today we are answering the question we get often, which is, okay, I've inherited a home. Can I refinance or sell it? Or I'm having a problem getting a hold of my lender. They won't talk to me. I seem to have issues refinancing, or they're not talking to me.
Yeah.
During the situation of death, all these things are hard. And so we wanted to answer these questions.
Yeah. So the calls we will get are, hey, Tom, hey, Eddie, my aunt just passed away last week, and I inherited the home. Okay. That is probably like 90% of the calls that we get. Okay. So they've actually inherited a home.
Mm-hmm.
The next question we ask them is what? Do you have rights to do anything with that home, or do you not have rights to do anything with that home? And that's really what they're calling us for. Even though we're not attorneys and we're not giving legal counsel at this point, that's what we get people asking us. I just inherited it. What do we do? So, yeah. All right, how do we attack this?
Okay, so just like I said, we're not real estate attorneys, we're not state attorneys. We are just talking, giving you information based off of how we see it from our end on the mortgage business. We're going to have three scenarios. Scenario one, there's no will, no beneficiary deed. Like your uncle had passed away. The family needs to figure out what to do with it. And let's just say you want to sell the home. You were the only living relative, and he told you he wanted to give you the home. And everybody knew that he wanted to give you the home. You can't sell or refinance that house. You will have to wait until probate. The courts decide and determine there's no other interest to the house. There's no other relative. There's no debt.
Right. So does that make sense? So you're gonna fall into the bucket of unfortunately not having any control at this moment. You likely will have control of it, but it could take 3, 4, 5, 6+ months. Okay. So that's very, very important to know that, again, likely you probably are going to have control one day, but it's got to go through the courts in order for them to justify and for them to confirm who have, rightful claims. People have relatives that pop out of nowhere all of a sudden. The judge says, whoa, now I got to figure out who's in control. Okay, so that's the first bucket that we want to bring up. Unfortunately, there's no control. Go through probate, and then you can call us, or you can call legal counsel to ask how best to go through that. All right, what's the other bucket?
Okay, for many of you, you might have inherited a home through a beneficiary deed. Tom, what is a beneficiary deed?
So some people are like, beneficiary deed. And we hear the word beneficiary all the time. But this is basically so the deed establishes ownership, and the beneficiary deed simply says it's going to transfer the home. It's going to transfer the deed to somebody upon someone's death. And it doesn't happen before they die. It's actually a notice. Upon my death, there's going to be a transfer to this person, and they will be benefiting. So the beneficiary deed is very important.
So we'll just run with, if your uncle put together a beneficiary deed, recorded it with the county, and, it's simple document, very, very simple, records it, and it says, that the house is going to go to you, the listener, and you now own it. The moment he dies, you are now the owner, the legal owner of that home. You can sell or refinance that house, as soon as you want.
Right. Yeah. They'll ask you for probably your documentation, certificates, death certificate or whatnot. But that beneficiary deed, that's it. That's your driver's license to being able to control that home. That's what, our listeners hopefully are in a position to have. But if not, that's what we're recommending also that you do. So again, the first bucket was, someone has passed, you don't have any control, but you need to go through probate. The second is your relative or your friend actually put a beneficiary deed in place, and you're going to benefit from that. You can have control of the property at that moment. You may have to provide documentation, but you can sell, you can refinance. Again, there's little nuances. Every lender's a little bit different, but that's a huge thing, that beneficiary deed.
So the third, and we've come up with these three options, these three scenarios. There's probably more. An estate attorney would probably say, "Oh, there's a dozen more," but the third one that we are going to say is the best is creating a trust. And the trust that we see most of all, from our perspective, that people have is a revocable living trust. It's a trust. Usually these family trusts will create a trust. So Uncle Joey, if we said it, the Uncle Joey had created a trust, deeded the home into the trust. The trust now owns the home. Even while your uncle's alive, the trust owns
Joey,
the home.
Yeah. Right. Uncle Joey obviously is controlling the trust, but
yes.
he actually has the trust owning it. So he controls the house through controlling the trust, but the trust is one that actually is owning the house.
Right, because the trust itself, with the documents, he'll live in the house. He's operating, it's his home, and he lives in it. But the trust owns it, and the trust will have instructions in there. It'll say, upon the death of Joey, the home will go to my three nieces, and give three. Basically, it'll give instructions. And there's all sorts of things that the trust can do. But what's great about the trust is that the trust owns it seamlessly while he's alive and through his death. So there's nothing that you need to do. You can the trust. You want a copy of the trust documents because you want, people are going to be asking for trust documents, but you can sell the home or refinance as soon as you want.
Okay. So hopefully that makes sense, to all of our listeners. The three buckets again are, there are no documents. And this is very, very standard. There is no beneficiary deed. There is no will. There is no trust.
The first scenario is Uncle Joey had nothing. He didn't do anything.
Nothing. So correct. You have to go see a judge, go through probate for the judge to be able to confirm everything. 2 is you at least have a beneficiary deed. You have a document that actually gives you control upon the moment, of that person's passing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third, as you said, which is really the grand, the grand strategy, is to have that trust, because the trust does so much, and the home being put in there is just one element within that trust.
Yeah. So I think what this to basically just stress to all of us, if you have assets and you want to have a seamless transition of your assets to the your loved ones, a trust is a very good idea. So I would encourage everybody to look into it. Speak to an estate attorney, someone that you trust, get a referral, someone that can really give you the best advice, but an estate attorney is what we should all do.
Well, thank you. And if you are listening to this podcast because you do fall into this scenario, we are sorry about your situation. Life throws, many things at us in many different ways. So, we're sorry for your loss, but hopefully you found this podcast helpful for your condition.
That's right. And if you like what the Mortgage Brothers are doing with this podcast, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and be sure to comment. And, you can call us or in the description on this video. You'll see our phone number, and be sure to email us as well. Okay, everyone, have a great week.
Perfect.
Take care.
Thank you, folks.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Mortgage Brothers podcast. Please let us know if you have any questions you'd like us to answer. You can email your questions to team@azmortgagebrothers.com, and be sure to ask us for a free quote on your next mortgage. We'll be sure to give you personalized service and help you through the whole process. Signature Home Loans, LLC does not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. This material has been prepared for informational purposes only. You should consult your own tax, legal, and accounting advisors before engaging in any transaction. Signature Home Loans, NMLS 1007154, NMLS number 210917 and 1618695, Equal Housing Lender.